Welcome to the Tragedy to Triumph talk show. This is episode 5. We have an amazing guest today, so feel free to share this out if you'd like. Spread the love. If not, no worries. Stick around. We have an amazing story to share with you this evening. I hope everyone's having a great Monday. I really appreciate it for being here. We have an amazing guest today, and I think we're actually going to bring on a random viewer as well. So we're waiting for everyone to join us. So thank you for being here tonight. We're super excited to have our guest on tonight. It's a true inspiration to many. So stick around. He's going to be joining us in about 2 or 3 minutes. Happy Monday. I hope everyone had a great weekend. Looking forward to Valentine's Day tomorrow to celebrate some love. Thank you guys for joining tonight. Yeah, we have one scheduled guest tonight, and then we're going to bring on someone from kind of randomly to share your story of your tragedy to triumph experience to inspire others. So stick around. We're going to invite our guest on now. Hi from Wyoming. Hey, brother.
Hey, Daniel. How are you?
How are you? Very good,
How are
man.
you?
How are you?
Good. I got to turn
Good.
this up a little bit. Can you hear me?
No worries. Yes, I
You hear
can.
me, right? Okay. Yeah, so I'm using
well-
my phone. I don't know if you are too.
Oh, no worries, man.
Yeah.
I know we scheduled this a while ago. Thank you for being here. I've noticed since I changed my whole platform, I don't get the volume, but I always know that or believe that like God or the universe will put people here tonight, whoever needs to kind of hear your story.
It's
and then
fine.
I'm eventually going to put these on YouTube anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So thank you for being here. First of all,
Sure.
your posts kept coming up on my Facebook like consistently with like specific numbers, so I knew you had to be on to share your story. So I'm gonna do a little kind of intro of you, just to kind of let everyone know who you are.
Sure.
So this is Anthony Caruso. He's been creating art for the past 3 years. His business is called Art Recovery. His business has grown tremendously, and it's actually the reason you're on. What I want to talk to you about tonight is this was started from getting sober, August 27th of 2018. He was a functioning drinker, alcoholic, who worked out, raised 3 kids, went to grad school, and lived a fast life. He was also an engineer at Xerox and has his MBA. He worked in medical and software sales up until a couple of years ago, and now he's a full-time artist, which I think is so inspirational. With faith, art, yoga, meditation, and exercise, he moves forward every day to continue to be clean, sober, and happy. And I want to add to inspire others through your artwork. So I think it's a great story. So thank you for being here. When I see stories like yours, and part of the reason why, I used to do some, I call grief counseling for a while, and I got inspired to have this show to bring people like you in front of as many people as I can to share your story, because I think we all go through our own tragedy of triumph story. So, August 27, 2018, bring me back. What made you realize I have a problem, I need to stop?
Well, for me, I always knew. I started drinking when I was 14 years old. And I knew back then, there was something that I liked about it. It was something that I would drink, and I would drink in excess, and I would still do it, right? But I still was able to do, like when I say I started drinking at 14, I say to, I started working out when I was 13, 14. So I was always constantly battling the two worlds of trying to be able to drink and maintain a life. So I was able to do that for years. I did go to an outpatient rehab when I was 19. I felt it made me feel like I didn't belong there, basically. So, and I felt that way all, wherever I went when it came to that kind of stuff, because these guys were doing some hardcore stuff. Same age group, but they were doing some hardcore stuff where I was, drinking alcohol. And I did some other things too, but not the volume that these guys were doing. So it didn't last 3 months. I was back at it. Eventually got married, had kids, went to school. Xerox paid for all my schooling, my bachelor's, my master's. And the drinking continued, throughout the years. I worked hard and I partied hard, and that was part of the process. I used to coach sports too, football, soccer. And like I said, I was going to school when I was an adult, I had 3 little kids, and my study group, they all drank. We got together a study group on Friday nights and we all drank. It was crazy. So it's almost like I surrounded myself with people who were the same. And to me, I felt like everybody did it. You know what I mean? Like there was an entire world, and that's what I was surrounding myself with. And it's not true, but I didn't realize that until really recently. Um, long story short, moving to August 27th, 2018, I just was binging a lot prior to that. So I would stop on my own, months without doing anything. Then I would try it again. So I always felt like I could. Like I feel like I could do so many things that I should be able to do that. You know what I mean? Like I should be able to. I see other people doing it. I'm like, I feel like I can do it. So every time I did it, as I got older, it got worse. I would binge for like 4 or 5 days. And then because I would have to wean off because of the way that it affected me, my hangovers. So, the 27th of August, I just went to rehab. My friends checked me in. My alcohol content was very high because I wasn't going to go. It's not something I was going to do. I have a job, I have things I got to do. I can't go. So I was really only there for 5 days. I went through detox. And as I came out of detox, that was enough for me. I stared up at the ceiling probably on my 4th or 5th day, and I said, what the heck am I doing here? And again, I felt out of place. And I shouldn't say that, but I did. I felt out of place. Everybody was smoking, fighting. There was a lot. I mean, there was good people in there, but it was just, I just didn't feel right. And that was enough for me to say, okay, this is it. I'm here. This is what I'm going to do with my life right now, because I feel like I always strive to be the best that I can be, and alcohol always kind of held me back. So I left. I rented a car because I was in Pennsylvania, drove back to Rochester, and never drank. Well, I haven't drinking since. It's been 4.5 years almost. So then, 2018, 2020 is when I started the business of Art of Recovery. And I've always been an artist. And I think that could be maybe, might have something to do with why I was always unsatisfied. Because when I was little, I wanted to go to school for art, but my parents being from Italy, Sicily, they're like, that's not what you do. Although, in Italy, the arts are big, but here they're like, we're not going to go to school for art. So I went to school eventually, for engineering. But I think I've always trying to fit, I was trying to fit in that environment where my mind was always towards the arts. So maybe that has something to do with it, that I wasn't just satisfied. I wasn't completely satisfied. I've always had faith. Right? Faith has always been there. My parents are Roman Catholic. I go to Christian church now. That was always part of my life, but it became even more part of my life as I got sober. And that was part of my sobriety. I would go to 90 meetings, 90 days. I did that, and on Sundays my meeting was church. So I went to church, Christian church. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing, and it's amazing how the art has taken off. So I got dogs barking, dogs barking.
Well, it's a good pause point actually, because I have a few questions.
Sure.
So take me back to, I don't know if you want to put the dog there. It's kind of loud, but that's okay. I kind of like dogs. Take me back to so I didn't know you had the recovery, 4 to 5 days of detox. So take me to when you left there, and you're driving home, and you've done that before. I don't know if you went through that type of detox. But I'm assuming you did, because you went 2-3 months and then you went on these binges.
No, it wasn't the same. No, this was different.
Okay, yeah, so take me back to that moment where, what was different about it? Well, besides, was the detox different, that you went 4 or 5 days and just completely, or was there something spiritually different, is what you're saying?
It was a little bit of both. It's funny how in the beginning it felt very spiritual in the beginning. You know, there was a lot of signs that I saw. It's like, as the years went by, I didn't see as much, but at that point I did. Um, but I was fed up, and what I learned was the first step. You know, I did when I got out, I did do 90 meetings. Like I said, I did 90 meetings, 90 days. And I got to step 6. I went, I had a sponsor, but it wasn't for me. That route wasn't. It was. I wanted to take more of a holistic approach for me. Um, but when I left there, I just was fed up. I know that I can't drink, and I accepted that. Where in the past, I would always quit, but I didn't ever realize the first step, that I just couldn't have that first drink. I didn't accept that. So as time went on, I did, and I know that I can't, and that's really what stuck with me.
It was time. So one of the things I've realized with addiction, and I went through a similar story, is, and I guess my question is, how long after you were like, okay, this is it, to where art really took off to be almost like your replacement in a way? Because I feel like when we have addiction issues, we need a replacement. For me, it was grief counseling. I had a gambling issue. I became a grief counselor in so many words. But the training and learning about it was my replacement. How long after you quit did art really pop, or like this is my new passion? How long of a period of time was that in between?
It was probably, what I did was I took, because like I said, I always would draw, right, but it wasn't the same as what I do today. The things that I've learned over the years, all that experience, I do it so much that it's different now than it was then. But I took a class in 2018 with a local artist called Steve Carpenter, and I learned a lot from him. And to this day, when I paint, I still hear him in my voice, my head, his voice in my head, I should say. But I posted it on Facebook. I painted something roughly during the pandemic, right? 2020, I posted something, and I got a few likes, and then I ended up selling them. Because my background is sales, right? So I was in medical sales and medical software. So I learned the marketing side of it, doing these types of things, the videos, doing live videos. I did a ton of videos painting live during the pandemic, and everybody was home. So that really helped, kind of, push it along to what it is today. I haven't done as many lives recently, but the lives were something that really did help in the beginning, just to get out there and people seeing me. And then, I said, I'm selling my stuff across the country, and people are trusting me by sending me money, right? Either a down payment for a commission piece or buying a piece. But it helps to have that page, to have that look, I'm a real person, right? Here's a live guy. He has a family, this is someone who they could trust. So I think social media has really helped a lot to get it to where it is today. But really, to answer your question, 2020 really was, when it started, and just by posting my art. And I didn't do lives back then. Prior to that, like 2019, I just would post, and people liked it, and I ended up selling it.
It's crazy to see the progress in 4.5 years from, hey, I got this really big issue where I need to detox from it, to where I'm assuming the same year, you said 2018, you started taking this class, and then this like passion started to come through. Do you know, it's a dumb question, but do you feel like your art and your work now is exponentially better because you've put that vice aside? You're able to concentrate and give more of your energy to something more positive?
Oh yeah, back in 2000, I mean, prior to doing all the art that I do now, I would make one painting a year. 2010 I did a lot more, but I would just paint one painting a year. And I remember painting sometimes under the influence, right? And you think it's good until you wake up the next day, and you're like, what was I thinking, right?
Like a lot of other things.
like a lot of other things. So, I don't know. I mean, it started small, and it grew big, and it's in the industry that I was in medical sales and medical software. I mean, it's a respectable position, but there's a lot of drinking involved. So I was still working while I was doing my art up until about a year ago, and then I do some consulting on the side here and there for sales. But I noticed that when I'm focused and I'm not doing anything else, and it's just my art, that the art grows even further. But when I'm doing something else, I'm focused on that because sales is nonstop. So when you're working for a company, you're always thinking sales. So now I just always think creativity and sales for what I do. So that's why it's a full-time thing now.
So before we get to talk more about your art, which this is a triumph part, part of the reason why I do these, or why I think I'm supposed to do these shows, is to help inspire others who have similar issues to, like, alcohol is
Yeah.
it's the number one disease, right? One of
It's
them.
everywhere.
So
Yeah.
I've noticed the same thing, that socially, there's a lot of like uncomfortableness, for lack of a better word, if that even is a word, of saying, hey, no, I'm not going to have one, or I don't want any. And there's more things out there like non-alcoholic cocktails and things like that. It's becoming a little bit more.
I could do those. I could do. It doesn't bother me. Yeah, I could
Right.
do those.
It's becoming a little bit more. What do you say to people who, whether it's alcohol, gambling, drugs, what do you say to someone about right, because the first stage of recognizing there's a problem and addressing the problem is recognizing I have an issue. Once we get to that point, how about for you with the alcohol? How did you kind of move past saying, hey, listen, because I'm sure you've been to weddings, bars,
Oh yeah.
I don't want to, and how do you kind of, so what would you say to someone who's going through, for instance, alcoholism, to say, hey, listen, I did it. This is how I did it. This is how I was able to manage in society, even though, there's so much of it around, to be the different person and say, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah. Okay, so there's with addiction, your brain, even when you're not drinking, if you're in it. Now I don't know other, like heroin and all that stuff. That's different. I'm not speaking to that, but I'm speaking for alcohol. As far as I'm concerned with alcohol, when you're in it, even if you're not drinking for 2 or 3 days, your brain doesn't think the same. You still have that fogginess.
Mm-hmm.
As time went on, that went away. So your clarity is so much better when you're not poisoning yourself with alcohol, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to learn to be comfortable in your own skin. So that's, there's a reason why we do this, right? There's people that drink socially, but they have to drink to be around other people. They may not have a problem, but they feel like that's the whole thing. They have to drink to be around other people. To get comfortable in your own skin is not easy to do, especially when you're used to being around people and drinking. So to be your true self around people, that's something that I've learned to do, right? So I've been to weddings. I'm not saying, I don't do the same things though. I don't stay till 2 o'clock. I don't, my entire family drinks, and it's, I don't know. I guess you have to change certain things. You can't be exactly, because you don't want to be. I don't want to be in those situations, right? So I try to avoid those situations, but I still do things. I still live life. I was able to go to bars even, and my friends would be drinking, and I was drinking non-alcoholic beer. I'm putting myself at risk a little bit, but I wanted to socialize because I was saying, do I want to do that? But then I learned that's probably not the best thing for me. So I kind of cut that off completely. But I did do that in the beginning, and I didn't drink. I just drank non-alcoholic beer. So that worked, but it was risky. So I think the biggest thing, if you're thinking about, quitting, if you're thinking about, cutting back, if you're thinking about quitting, usually you can't really cut back. You just need to stop, right? If someone has a problem, you can't. You drink 1, 2, or 3, and you're trying to control it, then you have a problem. I just think you just need to, just be comfortable. I also use exercise. I do meditation every morning for 10 minutes. I was doing yoga, but yoga early on was a big part of it too. And then just faith, just having faith in that, all 4 of those together helped me.
Yeah, you nailed it, right? So it pretty much, in so many words, being true to yourself, which I, teach that or try to tell people all the time. Be yourself. If someone doesn't accept you or understand you, you have to be true to you. That's the most important. That's first. Yeah. That's first and most important. Second thing, well, I'd say that's second. Well, you can rank them however you want. Second, you got to find a replacement. For me, it was gambling, and for me, it was baseball cards for a little while. I was like buying and selling, and then it was this grief counseling, is what I call it, and that was a huge replacement for me. And then the third thing, which I think personally is the most important, is faith. and you know, everyone has their own beliefs and things like that, but I think as a whole we all believe we try and call it God, right? But there's something more.
Yeah,
There's something
right.
greater. There is a responsible force to all of this. And
It
when you
helps.
combine all three of those, whether it's addiction or any other issue for that matter, you put all those in combination like you did, you get to bless the world with one of your gifts, which
Yeah,
I'm like a big Bible guy and I don't push my beliefs on anyone, but I believe in 1 Corinthians 12, 4 through 11, that Paul, just channeling and bringing through messages from the Holy Spirit, and is talking about gifts of the Spirit. And those gifts can include anything. He goes through all the different gifts. Your
right.
gift is art and healing people and helping people with your. I think there's some healing properties to art
Yes.
in general and to
Yeah.
you and through music and things like that. So
Yeah.
to your triumph, right? Tell us. So all those things, you get to the art. Now you're doing it full time, which is a blessing, and now you
Yep.
get to provide and make a living on, but also provide people with healing, and people get good feelings and good things from your art. So
Yeah.
tell us about
Yeah.
your business. I love the name of it. It's called The Art of Recovery, or Art to Recovery. Art of
Art of
Recovery.
recovery. Yep.
So you kind of encapsulate, and it's like what I saw about you sharing your story, your art, which comes from kind of you going through this. And I didn't look at all your art, but I do see a struggle to almost like a tragedy or triumph kind of story within some of your art.
Yeah.
And I think that
Yeah.
you expressed that. So tell us about your business, how many pieces you do, and how your business is doing overall, so that the
Yeah.
people that are
I,
watching can find it.
it's nothing that I've ever dreamed I'd be doing, and actually making money. It's not always easy, right? There's that struggle of I'm not getting a paycheck, right? So everything I do is what I create. Um, a lot of people, like you said, though, a lot of people do, um, say things about my art that speaks to them, which I think is great. So really, there's something to be said about leading by example and the influence that I have on people that I don't even realize. That sometimes I would get messages, you're a great influence. You don't really realize the lives that you're touching and stuff, because I'm very open about my sobriety online. Um, I'm not afraid to say I'm an alcoholic. I'm in recovery. I'm not. That doesn't. To me, that's, if I don't say anything, I'm not helping anybody. Right? I'm not hiding it. There's no anonymous here at all. So, that definitely helps. But with the art, with the pieces that I do, I create. It's crazy. Like I said, I used to do one a year. I could do one a day now. Um, just the technique that I use, right? If it's a portrait, say I'm doing a portrait of you, that's going to take time, depending on what it is, because it's layers. The layers have to dry because I use oil painting. But some of the other things that I do, if you've seen like the angel series that I've done, I could do those in a day, and a lot of it they're faceless, right? They have the wings faceless. I use knives. Broken willows, another one of my. I've done a series of broken willow trees, and I call it broken willow. A lot of people relate to that. Um, Umbrella, there's a lot of radiance and rain. I call it. There's a series of those that I've done. So in the beginning, what I would do is I would paint one, and people would contact me and say, "Can I commission you to paint something similar?" Well, I could never paint the same painting twice, so I would paint something similar with the colors that they wanted. But then about a year ago, I got into doing prints. There's a company here in Rochester, New York called Editions Printing, and Peter does a phenomenal job with the prints. So that is either creating one piece and being able to sell that piece over and over again at a lesser price for people to afford, right? So people may not be able to afford originals, but they could have my art as a print on canvas, and it's excellent quality. So that's really taken the business, to a new level, being able to do prints too. But a lot of the things that I create, it comes from my heart. It comes from my heart and the way that I put it on the canvas. I do use reference from other artists sometimes, from pictures, from whatever. I did the Canandaigua boathouses, which is my number one painting right now. That took off. I've sold hundreds of those, and I just did it with all knives.
Is that the mural? Is it like the big mural there?
It's I don't know if you've seen it. It's done all in knives, and there's a lot of blue and there's a reflection. You probably have seen it.
I think
But
I
that's my
have.
biggest seller. It's my number one seller. The original sold at Cornhill, and then I've sold multiple pieces ever since. Yeah, I just
Nice.
sold one today. I dropped one off today. So, um, it's with the knives. It's not perfection, right? You don't need perfection.
Yeah.
But something about the way the knives, the paint, the way the paint comes off the palette and goes onto the canvas, and the way that you can manipulate it is just different from a brush. So I learned that, and I've been able to do structures too. So I do a lot of structures. So
Do you think it's safe to say that if you didn't put alcohol aside, you wouldn't be in the
I would
place
not
you
be
are?
doing. No, no, absolutely, because there's another part. The risk of doing your own business, you need to be focused.
Hmm.
So if I wasn't doing this, there's no way I want the security of a job, right? Because I need that because I'm going to be partying. So I need to have that
Yeah.
security of it. So it allows me to take more risks being sober because I'm always moving forward. When you're drinking, you go, this is it, thinking. So you build yourself up and then you tear yourself back down again. And then you got to build yourself back up again, right?
Yeah.
So now it's just this way,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, oh my gosh, the question just slipped. So, real quick, while I think of the question I was going to ask, because I do want to start posting these on YouTube,
Sure.
share your website, your Facebook, your Instagram for people to buy your prints
Okay.
and your
So,
originals too.
so what I do, a lot of it is Facebook. I do Messenger, people message me, but I do have a page called artofrecovery.me. It's updated. I don't have all my work there, but I have some of my work there, and those are all just prints to purchase. I also have artofrecovery.shop, which is part of Fine Art America. It's a website. It's kind of like an Etsy. People can buy prints from there too. So artofrecovery.me is my webpage, and then artofrecovery.shop is where you can buy mugs of like Canandaigua boathouses or just prints. And they put my image on all kinds of stuff. You probably see all different types of merchandise, so I do it through them too. But mainly
Sometimes I
Facebook.
sometimes I get little intuitive hits. I feel like you're going to write a book. I don't know if you've already started it, but I also feel
I
like there's
could.
more to the story, the early parts of the stories that I think will help a lot of people that have gone through addiction issues, especially alcoholism.
Yeah.
That when you do write it, that a lot of the chunk of it will be some of what you went through with, I'm in medical device sales too. So,
Okay.
it just becomes a social thing. So I think, you
Yeah.
know, I think a lot of people can benefit from hearing your story because you had this kind of passion for other things,
I do.
including drinking. You recognized it was a problem, and then by taking a class and moving forward and doing all these extra things and getting to this point where now you own your own business and taking and channeling all that energy and putting into something positive.
Yeah.
Is an inspiration. I think a lot of people have. We have a lot have. A lot of us have addictions. A lot of us have things that take us away from
Absolutely.
like shining our light, from being truly who we are. And when
Yeah.
use your own words. When you have faith, you find something you're passionate about, and you pour all your energy into it. You can change people's lives because it's not just the
Yeah.
money that you're making from the business that
No.
supports you. It's probably just as much, if not more. That piece is hanging on someone's wall, and whoever
Yes.
walks by it and looks at it says, "Wow, that's beautiful." That
Yeah.
experience, that loving experience, it's what's it? Exponential. It's residual, right?
It is.
You probably in some way in the energetic universe probably get a little ping of love every time someone sees your art, and the more that
Yeah.
you're able to dispense that to the world, the
Mhm.
more you're going to be able to let your light shine, which I think is
Yeah.
a beautiful thing.
No, you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, that's how I feel exactly. It's not the money is the byproduct of what I love to do, and why not make money off it, right? Because it's just something I prefer to do, and it keeps me focused. Because when I paint, I'm focused. When I paint, I don't feel cold. I don't feel sick. I don't feel um, hot. I don't feel anything when I'm painting. So you're focused. So it's a form of meditation as well that I could do for hours. And then it's funny how that works too, because when you come out of it, you're like, wow, I'm freezing. Oh, I'm really tired. But you don't feel that when you're painting. So
Yeah.
there's the benefit of that as well. So there's a lot of benefits to it.
Have you ever seen that movie Soul, the Disney movie Soul?
No, I haven't. No. Mm-mm.
So watch it. And
Okay.
when it's about a musician, right, art, music, and
Yeah.
there's this thing called when you're in the zone
Yeah.
and you're
I'm in the
just
zone.
doing what you're passionate about, and they have this.
Yeah.
But it's a really good movie. You should watch it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I heard about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
Because
it's really,
when my kids were young, I used to watch all the Disney's with them. Then I got out. I don't know any of them now. So
yeah.
my
So
kids are
Soul
all
is
older.
yeah. How old are your kids, if you don't mind me asking?
I got 24-year-old, a 22-year-old, and a 20-year-old.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
great. Wow.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's cool.
yeah.
Um,
Thrilled. Yeah.
did you know I'm from Rochester too?
No,
I
are
went to
you in Rochester now?
I went to Webster. I moved to the Finger Lakes back in 2011.
Oh, okay, so you're not that far. Okay,
Yeah,
so you went to
yeah.
Thomas.
I went to Schrader.
I trader. Okay, I went to Kearney. I
Oh,
grew up
okay.
in Arundel,
Would you
but I
graduate
live in
two?
Webster now.
Did you graduate 2000?
87.
Oh, wow, man, you look young. Good for you.
That's I get a lot of that.
Good for
Yeah,
you. All
yeah.
right, so you
Thanks.
shared your website. Love your story. Listen, I'm gonna post this. If you could just kind of sum up and say one thing to someone who's watching this and has their own addictions, what kind of inspiration or can you share with them to help them get to the acceptance stage and then making the move to just go do it and go quit and put it aside and find your passion.
Yeah, it's just you have to take the first step to realize that you can't drink. So that's just something that if it is alcohol, you just have to accept that first step. You can't drink, and then you have to take the steps of adjusting your life, changing your life, not doing the same things you did before, but also be comfortable. Find something that you enjoy to do. Even if you're not an artist, you can still paint. You can learn to paint because I believe everybody can paint to a certain degree. Everybody's an artist and they can paint to a certain degree, or whatever it is that they have passion for. Spend time doing that. Put your all the focus into that because, or the gym too. The gym is a big thing. Take your frustrations out on weight. That definitely helped me. And your faith too. If you have faith, follow that. That's a big part of my sobriety as well. But the biggest thing is really you need to be comfortable in your own skin, and you can do it. But you're gonna have to get past the early stages. You can get past the early stages, and time builds up. You get used to it. Not saying it doesn't go away. It's still there. I talk about it a lot. There's like, oh, the situation, I'm doing this. Back then I used to do this, I used to do that, whatever. So it doesn't go away, but it does get easier as time goes on. But I still have to do the things that I do. So, but you can get here, and if you work hard at it, like I said, find something that brings you joy, brings you passion. You could definitely, you can change your life.
Yeah, and being true to yourself, I think, is so important. With putting aside anybody else's really opinion about it. I kind of I
Yeah,
talk about Galatians 1:10, where when Paul writes that, I do what I do to please God, to please what I believe our source is. I don't do it to please anyone else. I
right.
mean, you
Well,
obviously
that's powerful.
please
Yeah,
other people, but I mean, if someone's like, because for me it was gambling, and I ran my own fantasy leagues, and I had friends that played poker, and I was just like, I can't do it anymore, and so
yeah,
you lose some friends. You probably lost a couple friends that you knew you couldn't hang out with anymore
yeah,
because maybe they didn't either get it, or they're like, oh come on, let's just have a drink. And here's the thing:
yeah.
people don't realize that people have problems. I mean, my wife was an example of my gambling. She would want me to go to the casino, whatever, and it wasn't her fault, but it was a huge issue for me. So I think another thing people need to hear with addiction issues is you're gonna lose some friends, but you're gonna gain some new ones. You're
Yeah.
gonna have to be comfortable with who you are, like you said, and not really care about what anyone else thinks. You have to have
Right.
almost that, like, hey, listen, I'm me, and I don't really care what anyone else thinks. I do what
Yeah.
I do to serve others and serve
Yeah.
God.
I agree 100%. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That you said it exactly. So,
awesome.
and I'm happy, so I'm a
And
lot
that's
better off today
and
than
that's
I
most important. But I think you're happy, but you're leading with your heart. Like you're doing it, and it's almost like the things of the earth, things of the spiritual world. You're doing it because you know in your heart it's the right thing to do. It's not what feels good, right? For me, I'd love to go play poker. I still have. I would love
Yeah,
to go
I
play, but I
know.
know that, 6 years next month. I know I can't. Similar to you, I wouldn't be as passionate about everything else I do. But
Oh,
you're
it takes it
coming.
away.
Yeah, but you're coming from the heart. And I think that's so important.
Yeah.
There's a few questions before you go. Are you any relation to Caruso's Bakery in Utica?
No, I've heard of them.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Oh, and by the way, I think I said this in the beginning, but congratulations! I'm very, very proud of you as a former
Thank you.
Rochesterian, to see all the art that you. I saw your page. I mean, I kind of feel like getting called and you're supposed to come on the show, but
Yeah,
like your art is beautiful, your story's beautiful. Was the
thank you.
book thing accurate? Have you already started writing, or are you thinking about
No, I
writing?
haven't, but I've always thought about it. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, maybe this
absolutely.
is the hey, maybe, and you just start jotting down. I wrote a couple books, and you don't think it just starts on paper, and then all of a sudden you have this book that can really help a lot of people. So I think that's definitely in your future, and I think
Yeah, I got to ask you about that, like what to do to do that.
yeah,
Like the
reach out.
process.
It's easier than you think, but I think a lot of the story of your early just as much of you as your current has
Yeah,
to do
no,
with the book.
early. There's a lot
There's,
more to it than
I could feel
I
that.
couldn't even say. Honestly, that's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
Yeah,
Let's see. It's one. But yeah, congratulations for that because I think the
thank
world
you.
is a better place because you not only you could do that, but even if one person's watched this and says, I had recently had a friend that quit
Good
smoking.
enough.
You know,
One
right,
person.
right. Well, I had one friend that just quit smoking. She's on day 4. I actually had a dream. I'm like, you got it. Like, you got to stop. Like, I feel this so strongly. And now she's on day 4, and she's really doing well. But I think we all go through it, and I think that's what the Bible talks about in Colossians 3, chapter 3, verse 2, about putting the earthly things aside. For me, it was gambling. Then it was drinking.
Yeah,
It was caffeine.
yeah.
It was
I do
actually
that now too.
it was actually pornography. Actually, in
Yeah,
2018, I quit watching pornography. That was
yeah.
something that was an addiction thing, and now it's sugar. I'm trying to
It's
put
always something.
sugar
Yeah.
aside. But I think these things that the more we push aside, the more we can let our light shine. And I think you're doing a phenomenal job of that. Last thing, finish out for the people that weren't here. Your website, real quick, and then I'll let you go.
Yep, yep. My website's artofrecovery.me. That's where you can go to get prints of. It's updated, so it's got a lot of my latest work. Not everything, but a few of my latest pieces. And artofrecovery.shop has same type of thing. It's just got different work there where you can get, like I said, mugs. You can get merchandise and stuff with my art on it. And my biggest thing is Facebook. So if you look up Anthony Caruso on Facebook, you see artists. That's where I post all my stuff.
Perfect. Thank you for being an inspiration. Thank you for sharing your story, and keep up the great work, man. And thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you. That was
All
great.
right.
Thanks.
All right. Much love, brother.
All right, you too.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.